Has someone ever told you about their flawless zombie survival plan and then said they'll go to the mall? Yeah, those debates don't end very well. So to settle things, I made this video to break down the 5 absolute worst places you could go during a zombie apocalypse. So stick around and find out. But before we jump into the list, let's set the rules for our apocalypse. In the video, we won't be discussing the fast zombies, and we're definitely not dealing with mutated Resident Evil monsters or mushroom-faced clickers from The Last of Us. Instead, we'll talk about the classic, slow-moving zombies. 1 or 2 isn't a big deal, but get surrounded, and you're done. Also, you're not some action movie protagonist. You're just your regular old self, alone, barely equipped, and just trying to stay alive. Alright, so now we're on the same page. Let's get into the 5 worst places to go when the world falls apart. Trust me, some of these might surprise you. Number 5. Rooftops. At first glance, rooftops seem like a brilliant idea, and they're also the first place you'd probably run if you spot zombies approaching. You're elevated. The zombies can't climb, and you get a full 360-degree view of everything happening below you. Sounds pretty smart, right? Well, not really. The problem is, it's a trap disguised as a safe haven. First of all, once you're up there, you're stuck. There's nowhere to go to unless you want to jump, since you've probably already secured the entry point to the roof. And God forbid, even that option goes out the window if you find yourself on the roof of an apartment. So, there will be minimal escape routes if you barricade yourself there. And unless you've suddenly become an action hero movie stunt double, that's not going to end well. Now let's talk about the weather. Rooftops give you 0 protection from the elements. Rain, freezing temperatures, blistering sun, wind. Get it? Mother Nature can be brutal, and you're not surviving long if you're constantly battered by the elements. Then there's the problem with food and water. You'll have to climb down sooner or later, and when you do, those same zombies you avoided will still be waiting. That's not a base. It's a waiting room for bad decisions. Number 4. Sporting goods stores. Because nothing screams bad idea like heading straight into a place where everyone else thought they'd get their survival gear. Yeah, let's talk about that logic. People love saying they go to a sporting goods store during the apocalypse because it's got weapons and rations. And that is exactly why it's a terrible choice. Stores like that are ground zero for panic, looting, and violent encounters, since it's not just you with that idea. It's practically everyone. And you already know that humans are going to be the second biggest threat when all laws and morals go out the window. At this point in time, everyone's going to prioritize their own survival, and that means fighting for the last ration if you have to. If someone's between you and the last baseball bat, they're not handing it over to you with a smile. They're swinging it first. Also, you better hope no one infected made it inside before you, because normally sporting goods stores are in populated areas of town to make them more accessible. This means that there will be risks on the outside as well. 1 bite, 1 scream, and now you're locked in with a bunch of gear and maybe 2 exits that will be rushed. Yeah, you might get a crossbow, but you'll also get a mob, a brawl, and maybe a nice fresh infection. Number 3. Graveyards. Oh, so you thought you'd be safe surrounded by the dead? Bad news, this is literally the worst place to hang out when corpses are the problem. Sure, maybe the older dead won't be the ones rising to take the bite out of you since the caskets would prevent the infection from getting there, but there's still a chance, so it's safer to not risk it until some time has already passed. Even without the rising from the grave cliche, the environment is a nightmare. There are headstones, statues, uneven paths, open dirt, which are all perfect for tripping if you need to make a run for it. Visibility is terrible. There are lots of shadows and lots of places to hide, but those places aren't just for you. They could be hiding a lurking zombie out to get you. Then there's a problem during the night or during bad weather. Due to the lack of proper shelters, things would get pretty difficult. And the lack of lighting means you just bumped up the odds of getting caught off guard. You also have to walk quite a bit to reach any place that can provide basic supplies once you run out. So yeah, there's no food, no clean water, and definitely no shelter worth calling secure. And let's be honest, it's creepy as hell. Number 2. Hospitals. You'd think a hospital might be a good place to go. The place has medical supplies, shelter, maybe even a few survivors who know what they're doing. Doctors that could help in the case of broken limbs or wounds. But let's really think about this. Where's the first place infected people get taken when an outbreak starts? Exactly, the hospital. When the disease hasn't been properly identified, this is the first place where everyone who has signs of infection is going to end up. So while you're strolling through the halls thinking you'll find a doctor and some antibiotics, what you're actually walking into is a hot zone for infection. And we're not talking about just 1 or 2 zombies. We're talking about the origin of the outbreak in most cases. Even if the infection hasn't fully taken over the building yet, the layout is terrible for survival. Hospitals have long hallways with lots of rooms, and even the lights frequently don't work. It's basically a maze where the prize at the end is either a locked door or a room of freshly turned corpses. If you're trying to survive and not become a side character in a horror movie, don't go there. Number 1. Malls. And here we have the top spot of this list, the mall. The holy grail of terrible zombie survival plans. If I had $1 for every time someone said, "I just live in a mall," I could probably afford to buy one and shut it down myself. Let's break the fantasy up with logic, shall we? Yes, malls are big. And yes, they have some supplies, even though most of those supplies will be brands that you won't necessarily need at this point. But the problem is that they also have a ridiculous number of entrances. There are glass walls, giant front doors, loading docks, skylights, all of them making potential zombie welcome mats. They're nearly impossible to secure unless you're a small army. Most of the food in the mall, it will either be frozen, spoiled, or stuck behind locked doors. And unless you want to live off soft pretzels and old candy, you're not eating well. Also, mall generators, they'll run for maybe a day or two. And after that, the lights go out, the freezer shut off, and you're left in a massive dark building filled with echoes and blind corners. And don't forget, malls are almost always located in heavy populated areas like we talked about before. So if that outbreak starts, there's a good chance the mall would already be overrun with zombies. Or worse, it's being used as a designated emergency shelter, which means everyone was sent there, including the infected. The bottom line is, it's not a fortress. It's a trap dressed like a survival plan. Let's run through that one more time. Rooftops, no shelter from the weather, risky ways down once you're trapped, and no steady food or water supply. Sporting goods stores. Everyone has the same idea. High risk of violence and too many people fighting over the same resources. Graveyards. Poor visibility, too many shadows, uneven terrain, no supplies, no real shelter, and yeah, it's literally where the dead are buried. Hospitals. Ground zero for the infected. Minimal food supplies, confusing layouts, and zero chance you're walking out the way you came in. Malls. Too many entrances, fragile security, spoiled food, loud echo chambers, and worst of all, they're usually already overrun. If you found this helpful or it saved you from making a really bad apocalypse plan, then give it a like, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments which place you think is a total death trap. See you next time, and remember, stay sharp and stay out of the mall.